What's going on, y'all? It's JD Pickell. Today on the Hard Count, is it time to panic for Spencer Rattler in South Carolina? We'll discuss next. Welcome into the Hard Count, the People's Show for every single thing that you know and that you love about college football. It happens here on a daily basis. Nick Bragg does the heavy lifting. You can help drive the show by subscribing to the channel. We are also available on podcast, wherever you get them. You like Spotify? We're on Spotify. You like Apple? We're on Apple. So wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to the Hard Count if you're more of a podcast person. We got to talk about South Carolina, because there was a lot of excitement around that program because they got Spencer Rattler via the transfer portal. They got Shane Beamer, who's bringing Beamer ball to Columbia. They outperformed expectations by a lot in his first year there, and they've started the year 1-2. They beat a good Georgia State team, kind of had it taken to them against Arkansas, and then Georgia did what Georgia does against them. So, all that's to say, they have looked very unimpressive through these first 3 weeks of the season. And that sort of begs the question, is it time to panic? Is it time to press the panic button for them and for Spencer Rattler, who has looked, to put it kindly, underwhelming? He's thrown 2 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Some of those woes that we saw with him at Oklahoma have slowly but surely amplified and shown themselves again during his short time in Columbia as their quarterback. So here's what I think we need to look at. First and foremost, of these first 3 games, 2 of them were some of the hardest on their schedule. Like, even looking at the spreads going into those games, Arkansas and Georgia both did basically what you would expect them to do against a South Carolina team. It's no knock on South Carolina. The deck just wasn't necessarily stacked in your favor, drawing Arkansas and Georgia in 2 of your first 3 games. And oh, by the way, you're in your second year as Shane Beamer, the head coach of South Carolina, and also Spencer Rattler, you're in your first year as a starting quarterback there, along with a myriad of other transfers. So all that's to say, there wasn't necessarily a super favorable acclimation period for this program, especially this offense. And so you kind of had to take your lumps early. Even your tune-up game, your game where you pay a team to, come and play and make a little bit of money. Even Georgia State is a team that's going to compete for their conference. So there wasn't really a huge gimme anywhere within these first 3 games. So it was a lot of ways trial by fire. So you're 1-2. You kind of got it handed to you by Arkansas and Georgia, like we talked about. What's next? Is it time to hit the panic button? In short answer, no. But you have 2 challenges ahead of you. The first of which is schematics. I think as a whole for South Carolina, you can't win the way that I think you originally wanted to. Originally, you wanted to be able to hand the ball to that backfield and allow them to work and take some things off Spencer Rattler's plate. You wanted to be able to kind of control the tempo, get the ball to your playmakers in Jaheim Bell and Decarion Joyner, guys that could just make something happen for you on the perimeter. You wanted to have that sort of approach offensively. Doesn't look like you can do that. Spencer Rattler, for all of his faults, has had, at the very least, subpar protection. I mean, he drops back, he's taking a 5-step drop, and he has another grown man coming into his living room quick, fast, in a hurry. It's hard to throw a pass that way, folks. So the drop back game has got to be altered. And the run game has to be, at the very least, reassessed. So how you wanted to win football games, I don't know that you necessarily can win the way that you wanted to. Got to find a new plan of attack. All that's to say, I don't know that you throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I think reassessing is the best way to put it. What are your strengths? Let's play to those. What are your weaknesses? Let's get away from those. From my estimation, I think quick game is the best way to go about it. Have him be in the gun, 1 step, balls out. 3 step, balls out. Don't have it be where he has to sit back there and just take this abuse that the offensive line for South Carolina is subjecting him to by essentially being a strainer and just being some sort of resistance for the defensive line before he has, like I said, another grown man running after him. He's under duress nearly every single snap. And for Spencer Rattler, with decision-making being a little bit of a question mark from his most recent time at Oklahoma, that's followed him to South Carolina. It's hard to make a good decision with pressure. And he's had a lot of pressure as of late. We saw that a lot of times against Arkansas, saw that very frequently against Georgia, even saw it pretty frequently against Georgia State. So you need to find ways to essentially help Spencer Rattler and ultimately help your offense not have to rely so much on what the offensive line is doing. I understand that Marcus Satterfield has a good understanding of what he has on his offense. I understand that he spends much more time with that unit than I do. But I'm just saying, from where I'm standing, there needs to be adjustments in terms of how you manage Spencer Rattler and what your philosophy is offensively. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is all upstairs, because it would be very easy right now to sit here at 1-2 and just crumble, especially in the way that you lost some of these games. Georgia took it to you. Arkansas took it to you. It would be very easy to lose your confidence right now. And so the challenge for South Carolina is not to overreact in terms of what those losses mean, and then also to just sort of maintain their composure. Hey, we're 1-2, got a lot of football left in front of us. They play Charlotte next, they play South Carolina State the week after, then they go to Kentucky. The game at Kroger Field, in my opinion, will be the game that tells us the most about the South Carolina team, because they played two teams in the early going that really just dominate the line of scrimmage, a place where South Carolina has struggled, to say the least, in the early going. When they play Kentucky, I think that's going to be the best litmus test for us in terms of how far along this program is and how they can bounce back from these losses. Because you got your two tune-up games now, or what should be tune-up games, in Charlotte and South Carolina State. No disrespect. This should be the two-game stretch where you can catch your breath, hold your water, reassess, find what works, and then when you go to play Kentucky, that's when you got to be firing on all cylinders. By the Kentucky game, going into that bye week, there can't be too much mixing and matching. It's got to be, we have this plan, we have this identity, we're going to go forward. Obviously, week-to-week game plan is going to change, but I think the reassessing needs to happen in these next 3 weeks. Even 2 is a better timeline to give you. So I believe in South Carolina. I believe in Shane Beamer. Spencer Rattler, I'm not sold on, but I'm sold on his ability. Tons of ability. Can throw it all over the field. Can they manage him effectively, which has been the question we have asked since he got to Columbia? Can they manage it effectively and keep him from having to play Superman and give him just even a little bit of time? Or build in something to this scheme to allow him to get the ball out of his hands quick? That's what I'm looking for from South Carolina. If they can adapt, they can survive. It's the rule of life. The time is now for South Carolina to adapt and make their move for the rest of the season. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye on it like a hawk here at the Hard Count. Obviously been tracking South Carolina and Spencer Rattler relatively closely, as it is one of the more fascinating storylines across college football, but you better believe this will not be the last time that we visit this topic. So that's it for us here on the Hard Count. We appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram to stay up with every single thing we're doing here. We want you along for the ride. So we will keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of the Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.